Hi YouTube. So I am here today and I'm a little nervous. I'm full of different thoughts. My mind is racing. And after a lot of reading and research, I have come to the conclusion that I am utterly confused about my birth control and what I want to do about it. So everyone gets on birth control for different reasons, may that it be you're in a relationship, you don't want kids yet, but you're sexually active, or maybe your periods are really bad. It's personally my reason. Or maybe, I think there's a couple other reasons, and I'm not really familiar with them. I'm just stating the two that I've heard the most or that I'm familiar with. Some of my friends are on birth control, and they all started out with the implant in your arm, and each of them had different experiences with the implant in their arm, and they weren't really positive experiences. They weren't really the best experiences. And I started out with the shot. I got the shot for the first time in March of this year, so about 6 months ago. So I had I've had 2 sessions. And at first I bled 6 weeks straight, and then I was really moody. I wasn't really hungry. A lot of people say the shot makes you gain weight. The shot didn't really make me gain weight at first. At first, I was just really moody. My emotions and my hormones were all out of whack, and I was bleeding like crazy, and I couldn't understand why. And I'm like, okay, I did some research. Some people were saying you bleed at first, that's normal, and then your body it regulates or whatever. So then the second session, after it was like the first 6 weeks, and then the other 6 weeks, I didn't bleed at all. It was normal. I'm like, okay, great. This is great. And then I was late on my second shot. And then, so I went to get my shot for the second session, and I started bleeding a week and a half-ish, almost 2 weeks right after, and I bled for 8 or 9 weeks straight, maybe even 10, because the last week and a half I haven't bled, but from the first week and a half to the past week and a half, I was bleeding all throughout. So that's about 10 weeks, about 9.5 weeks or so. That was pure, just not a great experience at all. This second time around, I was also pretty moody. My hormones were all out of whack. Everything just felt just out of control as far as my body on the inside. I just didn't feel myself, and I don't like feeling like that. And I told my doctor, once I hit 6 or 7 weeks, first I told my mom. I'm still bleeding. I don't understand why I'm bleeding. It's very frustrating for me. And she was telling me that that's not normal. I need to contact my doctor. My mom lives in Texas, so we're not in the same state. So she was just telling me I need to contact my doctor. And so I did that. I called him, I let him know, and he was telling me that we can definitely discuss a different birth control route for me. He had me pick up a packet, a little booklet for an IUD called Kyleena. He said it's the newest one. It's really small. He said it's the smallest. He said that it's had the best outcomes and reviews for the majority of the women who have used it. So it caught my attention, and then I found out how you get Kyleena, and I was familiar that IUDs are implanted, but since my friends all have the arm implant, I'm thinking oh, go on my arm, oh, easy, nothing crazy. And he tells me they insert it in your uterus. So as soon as I hear that, for a second, I'm like, oh, okay, in your uterus. And then I realize in your uterus, and I'm like, how do you, what? My thought just immediately just ran and multiplied, and it went crazy. And I'm like, okay, so I was lost for words in the midst of my extreme confusion. And so I went and did my own research. I was Googling, people's personal experiences with Kyleena, the inserting process, I'll say that. And a lot of people were saying it was painful. And so now I'm sitting here, my doctor's appointment is in an hour and a half, and I'm nervous and I'm full of thought. And I've been thinking this since we've had that discussion and since I got the booklet. So I've had time to, bounce over, across and forth from the fence or whatever. But for some reason, now that it's right before, I'm nervous and I don't know what I want to do. I'm feeling like I want to go with the newest implant, the implant with the best reviews, because my friends have all had pretty bad experiences with the arm implant. But on the other hand, I really don't want to deal with pain. I'm like, what kind of pain? Is this some pain I can endure? Is it a different kind of pain I've never felt? Because The only uteral pain I felt is cramps, and I don't think that feels like a cramp. I feel like that feels like something poking and, you know, being rubbed against and placed and inserted, and it doesn't sound that pleasant to me. So I'm nervous and I'm not that excited. I'm excited to move forward with my birth control and hopefully make an improvement, but on the other hand, for the most part, I'm not excited and I'm very nervous and I'm kind of uncomfortable. And the reason why I say uncomfortable is because, one, I've never had a doctor in between my legs. You know, it's a little weird. For me, I haven't, I just don't feel comfortable. I'll just say that. And it's a crossover. I haven't really sat and talked to my mom about the Kyleena specifically. We've just talked about birth controls in a broad spectrum, like, you know, the shot, the implant, the pill, whatever. And she's just like, well, the implants, those IUDs, you don't hear too many good things about them and all that stuff. But that was before I found out about Kyleena, the newest one, and I'm sure she's not even familiar with Kyleena. So I'll probably film back once I'm done at the doctor to let you guys know what route I take and how I feel and what the experience was like, because there's a 90% chance I'm going to change my birth control because I'm over this shot. So I just got back, and I guess I'm trying to analyze the pain and like how I feel. I went with the Kyleena and it didn't take long. It took them about 15-20 minutes or so. It felt like 3 hours, but it didn't take long, and the whole process was fine. It just, I don't know how to explain it, which sucks because that's what this video is for the viewers to understand what it's like. It was just a weird feeling, and it's hard to, it wasn't painful, it was just a weird feeling, and then you kind of feel them placing it, that you feel. And it's hard. It's just a feeling you've never, like, I've never felt a feeling like that. It kind of just, imagine if you had a cramp, but instead of, like, you know how a cramp is kind of like a throbbing feeling? Instead of like the throbbing or like that pressure feeling in your abdomen area or abdominal area, imagine like a precise, like you can precisely feel exactly where it's coming from. With your cramps, you just kind of hold your stomach and you're just like, oh, this is so painful. But you kind of generally know the area, but getting the Kyleena, imagine you precisely know exactly where it's being, like where you feel tapped. Like it's like a tap. And then it's like a slight pinch. And I wouldn't even say pinch because it doesn't feel like you're really being pinched, but it's just like a little poke, like you know, like a little poke. So I was just kind of like, the whole time I'm just kind of like sitting there and I'm just like, you know, awkward. And then after it was over, I just stayed still for a second because I didn't want to move. I just didn't want to feel that poke or the pinch, however. I don't know which word is best to describe it. I don't want to feel that again. So I just did not move because I was scared of feeling it. And once I finally got up and I'm like, oh crap, now I feel like I'm cramping. And it's like, it was like briefly like cramps. I have a high pain tolerance, so it wasn't really like horrible cramps like how my menstrual cramps were. However, it was a cramping, like kind of like not a soreness, but just a cramping and like a weird throbbing. And so I sat in my car for about 10 minutes and I just sat there because I didn't want to drive in with that awkward feeling. And then I felt okay, and then I drove, and I'm back here and I'm just sitting here, and I don't know, I feel kind of weird, but not like a bad weird, just a little weird. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything you want to ask me or talk about, just drop them down below. Everyone's birth control experience is just very different. Always remember that everyone's, I want to keep saying that because it's a big point. Your experience will be different, your reaction is different, your body is different. So I would just do your research, figure out what sounds like it would be best for you, ask your doctor for their professional opinion, maybe ask a couple family members if you know anyone you're related to on birth control. I would just do my research before jumping in and just going for it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.